Grace to you and peace from God who is, who was, and who is to come. Amen. It will probably not come as a shock to the majority of you when I say that I really enjoy going to Walt Disney World in Florida. So much so that for Father's Day, I got a book of maps of Walt Disney World. Well, at least I'm assuming it was for Father's Day. It just kind of showed up in my car with no card attached. But I'm guessing it was for Father's Day. If you've never been, you may or may not know, each of the parks has their own icon. Magic Kingdom, of course, has the castle. Epcot has Spaceship Earth, or as we in the Brock family like to call it, the big golf ball. Animal Kingdom, though, has the Tree of Life. This Tree of Life is a huge, it's 145 feet tall, it's 50 feet wide at the base. It has over 8,000 branches on it, and leaves are at least a foot long. There's over 102,000 leaves on it. And all around on the trunk of this baobab tree are carvings of animals, both real and imagined. There's over 300 animals depicted. Now, baobab trees have been found to live, or that they can live, over 2,000 years. As a matter of fact, there's at least one in Central Africa that they estimate to be 2,500 years old. The one in Disney has a theater at the base of it that can seat 400 people, and at night they use the trunk to do light show and slides. I kind of like it. But since this is Disney, you probably know or suspect that it's not a naturally grown tree, but it's rather something of human construct. What you might not know, though, is that this amazing, beautiful icon, used for its very structure, an oil drilling rig. There we go. The framework, the very core of this tree, was designed for something entirely different. And the tree itself looks pretty much nothing like that for which its core was designed. Isn't it kind of funny how something can look nothing like that from which it came? In our first lesson this morning, we heard the prophet Ezekiel talking to the people of Jerusalem. And this was at a time of impending doom. The northern kingdom of Israel had long ago been invaded and wiped out by the Assyrians, and the southern kingdom, where Jerusalem was, the kingdom of Judah, in their arrogance, thought to one another, the Lord is never going to let anything happen to us here in Jerusalem. We have the temple. We have a descendant of David on our throne. We are the true people of the Lord God. The problem being, of course, that as a whole, the people, the government, the religious leaders, the everyday folk, had all pretty much come to take their faith life, had come to take those promises that had been made to their ancestors, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. They had come to take those covenants all pretty much for granted, even to the point of even outright ignoring those covenants. The thing about covenants, though, is that they're two-sided. Both parties need to live up to the agreement. When one party is living up to it and the other is not, the entire thing is out of balance. And that's what was happening to Jerusalem in Ezekiel's day. And that's mostly what Ezekiel's message in the book is about. Ezekiel is urging the people to return to the worship of the Lord God. If we don't come back to the Lord, Ezekiel says, God is going to allow something bad to happen to us. Yet in the midst of those words, we get this snippet that we heard this morning, this snippet of hope, this snippet of a promise of something different from where they were coming from. In our reading this morning, we hear Ezekiel saying that the Lord is going to take a sprig from a tree, from a cedar tree, and go to a place where it would not normally grow, the top of a mountain, plant it there, and there on the top of this mountain, this cedar sprig is going to not only grow, but bloom, blossom, flourish, and even more so do something that it was not designed to do, bear fruit. That tree is going to look like nothing from which it came. It'll be rather like faith coming from an unexpected place. In our gospel reading, Jesus uses similar imagery. Jesus talks about mustard seeds. Mustard seeds are really small. They're nearly insignificant. It takes, I can't even show you how small it is because my fingers are too big. But when they're planted and watered and cared for, they grow into a bush. Jesus says they can grow into a bush so large that one is more than enough to shade and shelter birds and other wildlife. They can grow taller than an average person. Those mustard bushes look nothing like that from which they came. Happened to come across a reading from Henry David Thoreau as he wrote about some seeds one time. Thoreau wrote, "In the spring of 1857, I planted 6 seeds sent to me by the Patent Office, and they were labeled, I think, and I apologize for mispronouncing this, Poitrine Jaune Grosse, or large yellow squash. 2 of the plants came up, and one bore a squash that weighed 123.5 pounds. The other bore 4, weighing together 186.25 pounds. Who would have believed," Thoreau wrote, "that there were 310 pounds of large yellow squash in that corner of my garden? A little mysterious hoeing and manuring was all the abracadabra presto change that I used, and lo, true to the label, they found me 310 pounds of large yellow squash that was never known to be there before." Small, insignificant seeds that can produce 310 pounds of food. That's a huge payoff from such a very small beginning. Now, you know, all of us start out small, new, untested. We start as a child, or brand new at work, or as a baptized believer. How we grow, though, that's the question. How we are watered and fertilized depends on how we'll turn out. How do you grow personally, professionally, faith-wise? Do you today look or act or believe like when you first started your job, or when you graduated high school, or when you were confirmed? Have you grown, changed, become stronger, wiser? What is it that's grounding you, giving you roots, giving you strength in each of those areas? Maybe your faith was small and it's now blossomed and grown and bloomed into something huge and wonderful and marvelous. Maybe your beginnings, from where you come, were something else entirely different from where you are now. What matters is that we have faith today. And now that we know what Christ calls us to do, which is love the Lord our God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourselves, God gives us that faith to spread that faith and to use that faith like the mustard seed, like the sprig up on the mountaintop, in whatever ways we can to help those around us and to spread the new life that Christ gives to each of us. Now, Disney's Tree of Life is full of surprises. It's full of joy and wonder, whether that comes from sitting there in the theater and watching the show or looking at the animals carved on it or even watching at night as the trunk is used for a light show and watching slides coming up of different movies and places around the park. That tree is there to represent life, all life. Life, though, is admittedly more than just a flashbang of an adventure park. Life needs structure. Faith needs something solid to build upon. That's what both Ezekiel and Jesus, I believe, are saying. Allow God to give you that structure, however big, however small, and change it. To take that seed of faith and allow it to grow. Allow God to make you into something new, something wonderful, something which you could not imagine. Allow God to create in you that tree of life. Amen.